Holy Lord, it is early. Oh, Gid. How did we get to this point? Oh boy. You are live. Except that it looks like the thumbnail. Wait. How did we get to this point? What's going on, YouTube? As we are attempting to figure out the dual cast situation very briefly, we will be casting one more Ark of Osiris. Ladies and gentlemen, Squiggles, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. I'm preparing the dual cast as we speak. Ugh, this thing is a pain in the butt every time. I don't know why it just wouldn't let me just replace the old one.
What is going on, Gecko?
What's up, Chisgule? How you doing, my man?
Good, good. I am pumped to cast Ark of Osiris with you, my friend. Thanks so much for organizing. I really appreciate it.
Hell yeah, my dude. Are you live on them tubes?
We are live on the tubes. Bunch of people in the chat, ready to rock.
Let me go ahead and quickly set up this multicast for the people. As you I see you're just online now. As you say, bada boom, 1, 2, and just like that. I think it's set up. We're about to find out the hard way. How you doing, my man?
Great. I'm just checking out the members of the alliance where they're going to be spectating, just to see kind of what the roster looks like, so folks in attendance can get a sense. And it looks like there's one T5 in the crew.
Oh, is there only one? What happened to? Are you sure? I think there is two. There is Z, and there is
Oh yeah, I see Z.
Yeah, there is Z, and then there is Abe.
Cool.
How much do you know about DJ? Have you ever heard about DJ before? The Dirty Jokers? Oh, my man.
History, baby. What do we need to know?
Dirty Jokers, first of all, are a huge family from Lord's Mobile community. They have a very relatively modest facet here in Rise of Kingdoms. Very high quality players, very smart players. We're in for a treat if they get a proper enemy. So hopefully they're going to get someone hard. I do hope the best for them, as they are friends of mine from way back in the Lord's Mobile day, but I kind of also want to see someone really work them up a little bit, because I know they're smart enough to take almost anyone that tries to challenge them. So this is going to be an interesting one. Well,
what's the power matchup here? What do they have, and what does the opponent have?
We are looking at about 385 million power, I think. Okay. Let me say, yeah, 307. Whoa, sorry, 381 million power to DJ versus 375 for the other team. The other team has registered only 24 members. Keep that in mind. So this is gonna be a good one, considering the power is relatively close. We're about 2 minutes out, and here I am trying to figure out why on earth this won't delete the other ones. It is 5 a.m. right now.
Dude, you are the Ark of Osiris monster. Like, I started to be the Ark of Osiris monster when Ark of Osiris first came out, and I was like, alright, like 1 or 2 in a weekend's cool. But you are like
cranking them out.
You're really dedicated to this.
I think that this is the future of this game. I think that we're gonna be seeing more events just like this. I don't think, spoiler alert, as you say, I know that Ark of Osiris is not gonna stay like this for long. I know for a fact we're looking at something that is gonna evolve and grow. They currently, the development team, have been focusing on a little on other things, like we all know, but I know that one of their priorities is eventually making this into a much bigger thing. So we are here to share with the community everything they need to know, so one day they are ready to slay.
Hashtag Gecko Leaks.
Well, I didn't say anything.
Oh.
Did I say anything? I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about either then.
Exactly. Chat, do you guys know what I'm talking about? Chat, come on, guys.
I would love to see Ark of Osiris become a bigger event in terms of like rankings, ladder. Like, I'm not saying it's an esport because this is like, you know, there's a lot of pay to win in the game. This is the reality, right? But at the same time, I'd love to see it move more and more in that direction, right? The more they can do on that front, I think the better, and I'm excited for what they want to do there.
I'm with you on that one. Let me go ahead and release for you guys on the chat right here. Let me go find your stream as well. The multicast link. It's gonna be a little bit of a work in progress, but these guys are starting their arc already, so we're not gonna miss a moment of that. We're gonna go ahead straight into the action while I will try to fix this on the go.
Nice.
So
I'm in, and I will say this, Gecko and I are going to try to answer chat as much as we possibly can, but when we're casting Ark of Osiris, we're focused primarily on the action in the Ark. So save your questions toward the end, or you can ask them. Just know that we're only going to be able to answer them opportunistically since our focus will be on the battle, and once we think a winner has been sort of emerged or has emerged, then we'll shift gears and answer your questions.
And one more thing, if the sound doesn't sound good on any of the streams, this is the time to let us know and we will figure out the volumes along the way. One thing important to point out is that these guys, as part of their preparation, have divided into 3 teams like a lot of us do. And the leaders of those teams are the guys sitting at the front. You have Cupid, their leader, Abe and Z, both their big boy players. And let me tell you something, these guys are organized. Boy, oh boy, if the blue team sleeps on it for a little bit.
Dude, I mean, I see 2 T5s in DJ, and I see 0 T5s on the side with the blue players. I think they are in trouble.
I tend to agree with that one very much so, although I do see a little bit of a 39 million power guy trying to perhaps almost get there maybe next time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I see that R2D2. I don't know. You can win without T5s. It's happened. So
yes, sir.
We'll see. Those T5s where they really need to go, in my opinion, from learning and doing this the hard way, is both in the field by the Ark of Osiris and leading rallies to the most critical objectives. That's where I think those T5s really belong.
Yeah, and not only that, I think that those tier 5s are going to come in very handy absolutely anywhere needed. I think these guys have, because they're tier 5s, very big castles, which means, unlike the last cast you and I had, we're going to see a little bit of rallies coming out this time around, as these guys will most likely utilize their advantage over their enemy, not only in tier power, but also in castle power. So hopefully we're going to be seeing some tier 5 led rallies. We're going to be seeing, as people are still porting in, guys, just a quick reminder, if your Ark of Osiris is happening, do not scout anyone or get into war frenzy. That is right, my friend. I embarrassed my own self as I was casting my Ark of Osiris and I scouted someone before the Ark and I came in 5 minutes late. Yes, it did happen. We rolled over the other team. It was pretty bad, but still, it's not the prettiest of things to come in late. It was not the funnest things to get 10,000 points, as the gates of hell have opened up and these guys are already pouring out.
Yeah, I'm psyched to see what happens here. There's, let's see, 16 players versus 27.
For now, yes.
I mean,
this might not be the most interesting cast we had ever, huh?
Well, if it turns into a big QA session, I think that's totally fine. I want to talk about a couple things. First of all, I want to talk about a commander that I'm really into right now. I really think Yi Seong-Ye is bananas. That expertise skill, especially if you can get the expertise skill, is just, wow, eye-popping.
Yep. I completely agree with you. A big problem with him is, once again, you're going to be having to sacrifice a lot to get him done. I want to point out something very briefly. Cupid has sent very early on a full cavalry march somewhere ahead on the map. And right behind the one march she sent out, she also sent a secondary march that seems to be pure infantry. Now, the secondary march that is pure infantry is currently heading towards an outpost, but I would assume that its final destination will be just a ping on the outpost just to get it for their team. And finally, from there, go towards the obelisk and defend the obelisk. As you and I have seen, people really rushing the enemy obelisk in the last week, at least, in the last time we saw an Ark of Osiris. So this is perhaps an attempt to counter this, as there is a faster march marching to ensure the obelisk is captured early, but some infantries in the back ensuring the defense of the obelisk.
Yeah, I mean,
Ooh, it's early.
You know my feelings on this. I don't love the obelisk rally play. I think you're counting on getting lucky, and you're counting on the enemy being disorganized. If the enemy is organized, I think not only are you going to get routed, you're going to get a lot of severely injured units in the process. That said, I think you and I have talked about, like, is it better to ask questions or to have answers? And it does ask a question. If unanswered, it is going to be super, super problematic that they took the obelisk.
Well, at this stage, the blue team is a little bit ahead. They do have their obelisk ahead of time, ahead of the red team by just a couple of seconds. But the red team really had an obelisk, an outpost. Oh boy, it's early. An outpost ahead of the blue team by quite a lot, 30 seconds ahead, which means the red team will start off with a very small advantage when it comes to points very early on, as we still are looking at the wider map, waiting for the rest of the map to get conquered.
The big opener we need to see here is how well they posture forward to get the shrines and altars. They've got less than 2 minutes to get there, and I don't see them making enough moves toward those objectives. There's some. Okay, no, I feel better about it. There's an army that headed over there. That's good. I see it on red. I don't see it as much yet on blue, although some of that is happening. That's good. Okay, good. Folks are doing that.
Yes, I'm seeing Cupid already with a march very forward ahead on the Temple of Osiris. 8.5 minutes till that opens up. In the meantime, Abby, one of the guys who actually got me into this alliance and into being connected back to these great group of people, posturing ahead, already locking in the Shrine of War. Look at that, 56 seconds till the Shrine of War opens up on the red team side, and he's already set right next to it and ready to pick it up. And on top of that, we're seeing a bunch of blue marches slowly and steadily also progressing. I'm not seeing any blue marches on altars. I'm not seeing any blue marches
That's what I'm looking at right now. I keep, when I do sort of like a circle with my screen, I'm sort of calling attention to what I'm looking at. Right now, the sky altar that should belong to blue, nobody from blue is going to. And that altar, I mean, we've talked about this, dude. That's big points, and they're just surrendering so many points right now. 150 points per minute. And there's no march that can get there in the 15 seconds that's left.
Crazy enough, if you look at the desert altar, there is Balrogath. I don't know how you say his name. He's already sitting right next to the desert altar on their side. It really looks like the DJ fam is here to get these things as soon as possible. As you can see, he insta picks up that desert altar, but he has a march walking his way. Ooh, big mistake. Blue team had to turn back and come back in, and he is alone in this desert altar. Only one troop. So this posture forward from 1VK1 is pretty good, as it seems like he's gonna stop this captured altar any moment and take it away from the red team. And in the meantime, on the opposite side,
captured. Teleporting starting to happen too. I think you're right. Like, look, you do need to make your way forward. The thing you need to make your way forward with is not one troop, but like you need a full army to capture this thing.
Correct. It looks like they haven't ported anyone yet to the bottom obelisk. Just now it was successfully locked, and Abe instantly ports. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about when it comes to DJ. The first person to port out was Z on the top obelisk, and the second person to port out was Abe on the bottom obelisk. These guys have it on lockdown. Abe instantly takes back his march from the obelisk, a quick march he had set. Vixen on the map, already headed towards the Shrine of Life. She is going to break the curse. Is she going to make this Shrine of Life not be the last building to be taken? I've casted 12 Ark of Osiris in 3 weeks, and this was the last building to be taken every single time. Can the dream?
I'll say this. I'm rooting for your fam DJ, but they don't yet have control of the board. There they go, getting their altar on the right-hand side. They're still missing 2 of their objectives on the left-hand side. Okay, now they're evened up. Cool.
There you go.
There we go.
And
now
the last building is a sky altar. Thank you guys for doing this. I appreciate you. And I will try to stay a little less biased, as I do really like this group of guys, and I am very involved with them, so I know the preparation they've put into it versus their enemy, but I do need to attempt to be a little less biased.
Well, biased? Well, you know, I can play the one side, you can play the other. That also works. I'll say this. Sky Altar finally in the hands of blue. 3 or 4 minutes too late. I mean, that's like solid 600 points. They just said, here, we don't need those. It's fine. We didn't need points. We'll see how close this match ends up being. A lot of points forfeited at the start of that match, unintentionally, I think. And, I mean, like, I don't know, Gecko, do you actually assign, like, a specific person to go to each structure? Do you do that?
We do not do that. I think we do not do that. Honestly, my alliance, the guys in both in High and Legends Gaming, the 2 alliances where I play the Ark of Osiris, I have forward accounts in, are so well organized in terms of leadership and in terms of what they do that I try not to pay attention. Because quite honestly, I would get lost in all the strategy and all the thoughts and all the divisions and all that good stuff. But I'll tell you this, we steamrolled the guys we played with earlier today, but then again, we had what, 4 tier 5s and they had none?
Yeah, well, that seems good. That seems good. We see a big open field fight here up above where the Ark is or will spawn, and my goodness, are these armies outnumbered. This is a good opportunity for me to say my catchphrase, which is that the challenge with infantry is that when they get caught out of position, there's not a lot they can do. The thing I think they did well with that infantry army is they didn't try to retreat. They said, you know what, I'm dead, so I may as well fight it out. I think that's the right choice.
So on that subject, the red team did not manage to take the desert altar away before the first occupation points went for the blue team, but the one march that did take it is now fallen out of the desert altar. You know why, my friend? Because there is a rally on the way to the top obelisk. That is right. bsG are trusting the fact that perhaps they are going to catch DJ off guard. And we're about to see if my praises to my friends from DJ were overstated, as a march is walking towards their obelisk.
Well, doesn't look like those were overstated, because they are grabbing a lot of territory on both sides of the map. And in fact, honestly, DJ basically owns the map at this point. All that's left is the starting outposts and the obelisks for blue. So if this rally fails, then they are in serious, serious trouble.
The red team also managed to sneak in 2 marches into the desert altar. Well, they managed to sneak 1 in, and Z is on his way with a second march. That is a tier 5 march into the desert altar on the top, which is being contested right now. Z hasn't put his troops in yet, as he doesn't really have to. 2 marches of tier 4s in here, but it looks like Z is going to really have to get in here. But maybe he's not paying attention to this specific march, as the desert altar right next to him is being taken slowly and steadily. And the march is walking towards the obelisk. I'm watching as
I will say this.
Yeah,
this is
what do
one
you
of the
see?
challenges of being a T5 player, which is that, like, look, there are a lot of places on the map that you need to be looking at all at once if you're managing a bunch of marches. It's just not easy to do. So
100%. I'll tell you this.
The action.
I had 3 marches on my arc moving around, and it was so hard to keep up with them. It's unbelievable. as we're
Oh,
seeing
yeah.
both Desert Altars being contested by the blue team. Vixen with an army inside the Desert Altar and 2 of them outside the Desert Altar. She is the designated Desert Altar defender. With 3 marches around that altar, nobody takes it from her.
Z is the one you said who's got designated 3 marches?
No, Vixen on the bottom,
Vixen on the bottom.
Desert Altar. And the top Desert Altar, by the way, there is a march outside of it. Z has a march outside of it and inside of it as well, as the rally hits the obelisk on DJ. And boy, oh boy, this obelisk might be taken out.
T5s hit hard. Yeah.
Do they have T5s on the other side?
Obelisk, huh? No, I was looking at the
Z.
Desert Altar.
They're about to lose this obelisk.
About. Oh no. I mean, I don't know how much good it really does to take this obelisk.
It doesn't.
They really need the altar, not an obelisk. What are they going to do? Pour it in to a T5 player and try to hit him? No.
Well, what it does right here. What it does right here is what we talked about again and again. It's a distraction. At this point, you have Z, a tier 5 player who is now going to focus on getting this obelisk back instead of paying attention to his marches on the altar, as he really needs this obelisk back. So it is a good distraction. I don't think it's a bad play if you're trying to cause a little bit of chaos on the map. And the red team is doing the same thing with the top obelisk. Abe.
They sure are.
Abe with a solo march just going absolutely bonkers on that top obelisk.
That's a solo march?
That is a solo march.
That T5?
That is T5.
Those are T5 Sammys, aren't they?
That is T5s, my friend. Abe is a monster. If there's one thing you should know about Abe in general, is that just like in Lords Mobile, in Rise of Kingdoms, he is a fierce person to go up against. A lot of people in Lords Mobile fear him. He should be feared in Rise of Kingdoms as well.
Well, he's trying to solo this thing, but it's got a lot of troops in there now. It looks like he's rocking Martel and Richard, which is a pretty sweet combo. So he's not doing a ton of damage, but he's also not taking a ton of damage.
I mean, he's doing, again, the one thing you want to do when you're talking about obelisks. Distract attention. There are 2 marches, 3 marches that are surrounding him and taking care of him. There were 2 marches that walked into the obelisk as a result of his attack. This only can mean one thing. These guys are paying attention to the obelisk and not trying to push forward for more objectives. But as I say that, they have the Ark of Osiris and they own that field. The blue team is owning that field.
Yeah, what's going on here? I mean, Blue's they've set their priority. It's not the structures. It's moving the Ark. And, you know, look.
Someone is backstabbing them.
Here's what they could do. They could teleport in after only a minute from now, and they could start hitting these cities. Now, why is hitting these cities a thing that's even possible or relevant? Because they've probably got 2 or 3 marches out on the field, which means these are some pretty vulnerable targets, especially if their best commanders are all out of the house, right? I mean, you could pretty easily swarm attack cities like this and do some work. Maybe not the T5 player, but, you know, the 7 million power player, the 10 million power player, the 15 million power player. There are fewer players on the opponent's side, but they're all higher power on average.
Exactly. I am keeping my eye on the Ark, as Bears is trying to backstab the Ark carrier. And as a matter of fact, he did his job. The Ark carrier is not progressing forward. He actually took a step back trying to survive this offensive attack from Bears. Bears is also a veteran of Lords Mobile. He was a big leader of a relatively big alliance. He's very experienced in these games, and as you can see, he's juking everything around him, trying to survive, trying to just slow down that Ark from making it back for the blue team.
Yeah, I think he's got a kamikaze at this point, which is what he's doing. And wow, those alliance members in blue are just
getting melted,
which I did not expect to see that.
I don't think he had a full march. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think his march was very small.
Must not have been a full march.
For sure.
What I dislike is that the player in blue keeps moving around the field, not going toward their own objectives, and like they've gotta cap that thing as fast as possible if their strategy is to hold the center.
He was trying, though, to get away from Bears as much as possible, so I'll give him that. It's a good thing he's trying to juke Bear out, but the juke has to be while progressing towards one of their buildings. But guess what? There are not that many of those left, as the top obelisk is being contested by Z, the other tier 5 player. I'm seeing 5 marches trying to take care of Z on the top obelisk.
Yeah, I dislike the way that they're doing that. The thing that they really should do to take care of him is to just get into the obelisk and make him attack into superior numbers. Swarm attacking a T5, especially a Martel, who has max counterattack, probably, is not my first, second, or third choice for how I'd handle that situation.
I think that these guys are shell-shocked. I think that the blue team is completely shell-shocked because the red team owns 1,030 points per minute out of 1,180 points on the field. We are talking less than 20 minutes into the game. The red team has already taken most of the objectives, most of everything. All that's left for the blue team are obelisks and outposts. There's still plenty of time to get things done, but they have to start doing things, and they have to start doing things now. And DJ for now taking all the attack and all the healing buffs. So,
yeah,
boy, oh boy.
They really need to rally one of the altars near the top and be successful in taking it to start to crawl their way back into any amount of sustainable point gain. And, you know, I'll say the reason they're still in the fight at all is because they're taking this Ark back, and they did get that Ark, I'm not going to say for free, but with relative ease, and that's because Red said, that's fine, we're going to take all the other structures, and now their T5 is rallying the obelisk, which I think they're going to get it back. It's a little bit of a bummer Blue didn't try to port forward here and deal with some of these cities. They might have just been intimidated by the T5, and I'm not going to lie, it is intimidating.
It is very intimidating. You can see the choice by Z to put in Sun Tzu at the lead. The reason for that is because he's expecting to have that Sun Tzu in the obelisk just in case the blue team decide to get a little bit smarty pants again. As he was the only guy defending the desert altar on the top, the blue team is finally showing a little bit of a sign of life, as the red team has a 6,000 point lead, and they are still leading in the points per minute game by over 500, 600 points, 700 points, 730 points per minute more, Chisgule. Oh my god.
Sun Tzu is an interesting leader here. I mean, presumably he's primarily skill tree to be leading a rally. If he's primary infantry, like, it just seems not like the first or second choice, but I suppose that it's very conceivable that, you know, Z's probably got a bunch of armies all over the map, and sometimes you just got to use the commanders you have rather than the most optimal ones.
I completely agree. I think that this rally was a 1 minute rally just to get this obelisk back, just to do the solo damage, as 5 sad faces from the blue team march back towards their home. I don't believe they will see this side of the map again.
There is, however, a rally going on the Shrine of War. It's being defended pretty well. A bunch of blue armies walking right past the rally instead of reinforcing it, which is an interesting thing to see.
And Vixen, who I had mentioned, was just holding previously the desert altar. The sneaky girl went up into the Shrine of War and reinforced it and made it white HP again, as the rally is slowly fading into the red and into oblivion. Ouch.
Yeah, this rally really got melted over here.
Ouch.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 folks had reinforced that rally. That's tough. That's tough.
That's a hard hit right there. But the blue team still is designated on the Ark of Osiris, although we're seeing a little bit of a mistake by Cupid. I guess she sent a set of troops a little bit forward to posture, and in between the 2 troops that she sent towards the Temple of Osiris, one of them just kept going and got melted by a few marches. Yeah. She did do one very important thing here, though. And Chisgule, this is a very important mechanic that people must know about. When you finish a fight, what will happen is your marches will start marching back. And out of the 6 marches that were hitting her and melted her march, 2 are still backpedaling home. 2 are losing position. So there is a little bit of a silver lining in doing what she did, but it still is a march that is going to go back home, and it's a little bit of a shame. But
Yeah,
still.
the march management, it's really tough, honestly. I
Mm-hmm.
had 3 marches in the open field earlier in my Ark of Osiris, and we'll have that video go live later, either this weekend or in the week.
Did you win?
And well, I don't want to say if we won or lost. I'll say it was a good fight. You'll have to watch and see.
Oh
You'll have
damn.
to watch and see.
Oh damn.
So, yeah, it was good. So I had 3 marches in the open field, and it's kind of tough to control the 3 marches particularly effectively unless they're all in the same place. So I tried to basically have as many marches as possible, either in someone else's rally or in a structure, so that I wouldn't have to think about them.
Mm-hmm.
And if I needed to act in a different part of the map, I just move over to the army that I sort of had nearby that location, since I'd strategically
Good night,
placed
Nathan.
them in
Take
places
it
I
easy,
wouldn't
man.
have to watch all at once.
Yeah, beer. Yeah, bro. It's like, I think that one of the things that are really worth mentioning to the development team, and I'm going to talk to them about this, is that I don't like the fact that the way marches are showing on the side of the screen, on the little side panel, are based on first come, first serve. I would like us to have an availability to swap the order of those marches, as I found myself with 2 marches in caravans because, hey, why not? And those were really, really annoying because once my marches died on the battlefield and came back home and I sent new marches, now those new marches were at the bottom rather than on the top of that list. And I ended up splitting marches. It was really, really hard to keep up with these things. So I think it's a thing worth mentioning. If we were able to rearrange the side marches in a way that is more comfortable for us to keep up with it, managing our marches might be much easier. And again,
Well,
Abe is just sending solo marches over and over into the top obelisk, man. He's just losing troops after troops and distracting.
It's an interesting
4, 5
strategy. I don't know
marches.
that I get it. Man, I'm watching this desert altar getting rallied, and it is a close fight. However, not anymore, since it just got reinforced. And I think these reinforcements, all siege units, are not gonna get to the bsG rally in time.
Worth mentioning
It's
that the
just
reinforcements on the desert altar right now were tier 5s. So
too little, too late, and oh my goodness, now the siege army is just gonna get melted. Unless they turn and fight, it's being led by Alohar. I'll say in my Ark of Osiris, I had a basically all siege army that I would just dump somewhere that, like, yeah, it's better for something to be defended by, even all siege units rather than nothing, right? Like,
yep.
what am I doing with 250,000 siege units in my city?
Yeah, so that's exactly after our conversation. I did the same. After our last Ark conversation, we talked about doing this. One of my 3 marches was a full 100% siege unit march, and it sat in a building, and that was its job. It sat in a building, and it stayed.
Well,
What
I'm
can
going
be
to start to
said?
direct my attention to the chat. If folks want to start to ask questions, I feel pretty comfortable about the direction this is going.
I
Yeah.
tend to agree. And
The whole
let's
map is basically owned by red, and the center is still owned by blue, actually. But it's just like how do you keep up with 900 points a minute? Like, the arcs are not enough.
So let's talk about the math behind your decision before we actually direct our attention, as you said, to the chat. The math behind it is pretty simple. 1,180 points are up for grabs on the map at all time. Now, when the red team is at 10,000 points ahead of the game and there is 30 minutes left, we're talking about roughly 35,000 points still available to be picked up from buildings. And with every minute that passes, those numbers go down. If the blue team has not been able to pick up any of these objectives, even if they take, the only way they can actually win this is if they take the whole map right now and the arcs. That's the only way they can actually turn the tides around, because at this stage, every moment they waste trying to get another building, just like they are spending time trying to get the Shrine of Life. And I'm saying waste a little bit loosely because they're doing their best, but everything takes time. They can't instantly get everything. So even if the red team pulls back right now completely, it will take the blue team a substantial amount of time to get all these buildings and start getting points on their favor. I don't know whether we can say 100% this is over just yet, but it's a
Yeah.
99.999% situation. Unless a miracle
Yeah.
happens here.
I'm judging not just by the position on the map, but also the success of some of these rallies, right?
Exactly.
Like, they're not going well. And if they were, I'd maybe feel a little differently. I will say the right player is leading the rallies. The 40 million power player is the one leading them. It's just, they're not, I haven't seen them get reinforced at all.
You
That
know,
seems problematic.
I think that we have to give credit where credit is due to the guys at bsG. They are trying to deal with 2 tier 5 players. 2 of them, which I can
True.
tell you are very, very savvy. These are guys who have spent money on testing. These are guys who have spent time and energy, more than I can tell you I know a lot of people do, in perfecting their craft. They're here to be the best alliance, just like they are in Lords Mobile. They are here to make sure that people know who they are. And I don't think bsG I don't think bsG had a chance from the beginning just because of these tier 5 players. And you can see Vixen on the bottom desert altar from early on with 3 marches already defending it. They know exactly where to be and what to do. As another attempt of a rally is going on the Shrine of War at the top, and that rally is just straight up getting melted because these guys are not getting caught out of position. They know exactly
Yeah,
what
the
they're doing.
obelisk also getting hit up top. Actually, a swarm attack with T5s, and people just need to get into the structure to defend it. And they didn't. And now it's going to be hard to take that back.
Even though it's only 1 tier 5 march in that obelisk, Dirty Digger is on his way, and in the obelisk he goes.
Because now all the tech of the T5 is going to apply to defending that structure. All of the skills and talents of the T5. I mean, they're just now they got a problem.
Oh yeah. At this point in time, right here, right now, my friend, I'm calling it. I'm calling it.
Let's
straight
get
up.
a look at the chat. Jetski saying full infantry army is Ulgi and CPO good. I think that's a fine pairing. CPO would probably be the secondary, so that you can take advantage of the infantry tree from Ulgi. What do you think?
I think that's not a bad play. I don't really think that having a specialized set of troops is good with a leadership commander. If you, of course, you're using CPO as a secondary for that extra troop buff. But I think that it would be better to still have another specialized commander for infantry if you have the ability to. Just because if you're specializing, specialize all the way. If you're not going to specialize all the way, then I'd go with mixed troops, honestly. If you have a little bit more...
I'll give a counterpoint. You make a tanky unit, right? You make a more tanky Ulgi army. I think that could be fine.
I'm not saying it's bad.
That could be totally fine.
I'm definitely not saying it's bad.
Yeah. Let's see here. Does the Conquering Tree and Garrison Tree work in Ark of Osiris? I think that's a big no. Conquering and Garrison don't really work.
My chat is going, rest in peace, blue team. Can we get Fs in the chat, my friends? Can we get some Fs in the chat for the blue team? Because, man, oh man, they came into this Ark of Osiris against question mark, and found a wall.
Yeah,
oh my
there's some
goodness.
serious T5s going on here, and they are doing work. Sam is asking, how do you feel a 5-5 Julius Caesar is with Richard? My Charles is 5-1-2, and I don't know if I want to risk it. I think a 5-5 Julius Caesar is in really great shape. Pairing with Richard seems good. I don't know how skilled up your Richard is, but that seems totally fine to me. What about Minamoto with Baibars as a secondary commander? I think that's a great combo.
So, Chisgule, one of the questions I've been seeing a lot in chats lately is, what is better? Is a stronger, more advanced epic commander better than a less advanced legendary commander that does have some investment on it? So an example would be a 5-1-1-1 legendary commander versus a 5-5-4-1 plus let's say, epic commander. So I think like most of us have been in agreement that a better leveled epic commander might do a lot more work. It just really depends on the situation. How would you give the people watching us right now a basic guideline that is not dependent on anything? Where would you feel comfortable at saying this is better or that is better, period?
Okay, so first, there's a couple things we need to talk about, and that's a great question. First thing we need to talk about is the fact that a legendary commander is harder to put experience on, and it's going to take way more star sculptures to star them up, and it's going to take way more sculptures in general to skill them up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of background, and what that tells you is that frequently you would want the epic commander to be the one that's in the primary slot, depending on the talent trees that epic commander has, and in some ways depending on the composition of those skills, because sometimes you really want to have them in sequence in the right order.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, I think we need to start by looking at this as if you can expertise your epic commander. Because look, it's pretty darn easy in the grand scheme of things to expertise one epic commander at least in this game, especially as you start to progress.
Mm-hmm.
I've got at this point, I mean, granted, our accounts are like older accounts at this point, but I've got 5 epics expertised at least, and I could have 7, maybe 8 expertised if I just applied more sculptures. I think that the break point where it's obvious to use the legendary over the epic is if the legendary is 5/3 XX. Now, that doesn't work for all legendaries, because for instance, I think, isn't Cao Cao's second skill damaging barbarians? So I don't think that's quite the right guideline, but you get the idea.
So we're saying a full first skill and a level 3 or above secondary skill that is non-barbarian. That's the caveat in that line. That as long as it's a non-barbarian. And by the way, a lot of folks have asked me in the past, like, why is Cao Cao like this? One of the things that data shows, and this data, as I mentioned in previous streams, comes from the generosity of Legends Gaming. Cao Cao is the second strongest commander when it comes to pairings and results based on the data they have currently gathered. This means that you have to figure out how to nerf him a little bit. And I think that the placement of the Barbarian attack as the second skill is intentional. It is a way for us to not be able to get him to the top of his game as early as other legendary commanders, as once he is maxed out, he is a powerhouse and a half.
He is a powerhouse. And yeah, I would agree that the position of that skill makes it so that you really ought to be inclined to be using him for barbarians as well when you're skilling him up. It's got to be a part of your intention. And that was really my intention with Mina Cao as my starting point, honestly. I just wanted to smash barbarians and win events that were PvE oriented, and we definitely accomplished that very handily.
So going back to the Ark of Osiris that's going on really quickly, the top obelisk belonged to the red team to the point where they were able to port one city up to the top. Now, the blue team swarmed that obelisk to the end of its life, and there was a mistake on the battlefield that is worth mentioning. As these VODs are going to be available later on, we do want to still keep an eye on the Ark and commentate on things that should be noticed. The city that did port to the top obelisk did not reinforce the obelisk. They did not have troops in it. And
well, they didn't have troops in it.
No, they didn't.
I assume they did.
I did too, until I looked at the sad faces and I did not see one going into his city. And then he backed out because he was the only one up top and he did not want to get zeroed out. So small mistake, not that big of a deal. But if we are looking to tell the dirty jokers where they should improve, maybe that's a little bit of a deal. Do you think so?
Well, it's a big deal. Yeah, because it's a T5 player that was holding that structure. And so you get all the stats of the T5 player. You cause so much damage to them. So much damage. Because they were swarming and rallying. Reinforcing would have been really significant. Because there's a tech advantage here that cannot be made up by the opposing team. They simply do not have the capability to make that up. So I think it's significant. Obviously, it's at this point it doesn't matter. It's not going to swing.
Yeah,
The
that's,
one way
by
or
the way,
other,
that's why what I meant by it doesn't matter, right? Because at this stage it won't sway a thing. But you are right. That tier 5
Sure.
player's tech was wasted right there. A little bit of a mistake, something to keep an eye on in the future. I think that these are things that are, once you start winning and you're ahead so much, you start getting a little careless. And that is okay. I feel like some of them are watching our casts and hearing that they are most likely going to be victorious. So maybe they loosened up on their play a little bit. But this can't be a habit. One of the most important things for you guys who are here to understand how to get better at these events and in general, how to get better as an alliance, never get complacent. Complacency is where bad things happen, not only in games, by the way. Always stay on your game, always stay on your toes, and these are small mistakes that are irrelevant for this match, but they will definitely should be assessed by the Dirty Jokers in the future.
Yeah. Well, I've got some interesting questions starting to come in here. Unless there's something interesting you see on the
Someone
field.
asked, as a free-to-play player, and you have limited legendary sculptures, which legendary commander should we focus on for more benefit? Do you want to tackle that one first?
I mean, I really like Richard. He's just so good. I get the easy answer taking that first. He's so good because his skills are relevant in almost every situation.
Okay.
That's why he's so good.
So I agree with that, and I don't agree with that. I think that Richard is a great pick as a first, and if you are picking Richard, it's not a bad pick. But if you're a free-to-play player, we got to look at not necessarily the end game and being a good city, but we also got to look at the longevity of a free-to-play player's game and how to make sure a free-to-play player has fun for long enough so that they can exist long enough to be able to really pair up this maxed out Richard with anything else. So if you ask,
you think they shouldn't save their gems for Richard? They should just spend as fast as they can
on one person in particular, and that is Cao Cao. I think Cao Cao is a better play for a free-to-play player for two main reasons. Number one, barbarians. Number two, movement. Free-to-play players will not have, we don't feel that pain, but free-to-play players will feel the pain of months and months and months and months and months to max out one legendary commander. So if you are gonna be taking that pain, you might as well have fun along the way. And I think that taking Cao Cao as a first commander you max out is not a bad play.
Yeah, well, so a free-to-play player is not planning to, I think, max out a legendary, right?
You don't think so? You think it's you're gonna spread across a few commanders as it goes?
I do. I think you're gonna get to the point where you've invested 30 sculptures a skill up, and you're gonna go, okay, this is getting pretty steep for me. What else could I do that might be good here, right? And you're gonna get a couple maybe that are at a pretty good place because. Man, otherwise, like you don't have the VIP level to get that daily intake of sculptures. That's pretty crucial.
Agree.
I feel like you shoot for maxing like the first two skills of a good commander and call it with that commander.
So you're saying you're going for the the first skill at number 5 and then you move on to the next one?
Yeah. So
that is 50
Charles
legendary
Martel
commander
5,
sculptures.
5, 1, 1. Or Richard at a 5-5-1-1.
5-5-1-1. Ooh, that's a separate story. A 5-5-1-1 means what? 170 sculptures a pop, I think. It's 50 to max the first skill, and then from there you are sitting at 20 per level. So that's I think
it's 55 for the first skill.
It's
10, 10, 15, 20.
Is it 15? I thought it was 10, 10, 10, 20. I didn't remember that there was a 15 in the middle. You might be right. Yeah. Let's go with between 50 and 55, where our brains are nowhere near that, as our commanders kind of past that level. What? What?
You're right there.
Listen, I gotta point.
It's early in the morning.
I gotta point out one more thing going on the map really quickly, and then we'll go to more questions. Abe is still soloing that damn bottom obelisk.
Yeah.
Over and over, his marches are making it here and just not giving the blue team a second to breathe. I like that. I really do. I'm sorry. I like that. Bless
Sorry,
you.
I just sneezed. Hope I muted. I didn't. I tried to mute in time. I was like,
You didn't only not mute, but also I think I found a piece of your lungs somewhere in here.
Yeah, I just blew up your. I just like blew up your time. Okay,
if I wasn't awake up
answer
until
some
then,
questions.
I'm awake now.
Yeah, wake up, buddy. Okay, so what do we got here? What's the best archer setup with epic commanders? Probably Herman Kusunoki. Use the skill tree, baby. Make mad rage. Wizzle saying I use Herman and Boudica for an archer build. Yeah, I love it. Boudica is flexible. You can use her with a whole bunch of different commanders. And I love that combination because they both generate tons of rage. Would Herman and CPO work? Absolutely.
Which is why we recommend, by the way, Britain to start early on. Because of Boudica.
Yeah, Boudica, crucial. Crucial for the free-to-play player to get edge by gaining extra experience. So Herman, CPO, fine combination. Makes your archers more tanky. Use Herman as the primary. El Cid with Boudica for archers? Seems good to me. How do you like El Cid? I've heard El Cid's good, and then I've heard other people say El Cid's bad, so I gotta test him out myself. Who should I use Osman with? Literally anyone that generates tons of rage. Anyone that generates tons and tons of rage, so you get more skill attacks. What is better, 3-1-1-1 El Cid or maxed Tamo? Now that's a question I've never gotten before.
3-1-1-1 El Cid versus a max Tamo?
Tamo. I have no clue if Tamo is better at a max Tamo. I mean, jeez.
You know she's very underrated.
El Cid is that you basically can't invest in it anymore because you really needed to max the first skill before proceeding. That's the real thing we need to talk about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's also a very good point. You know, you've brought up a huge point. Free-to-play players and even low to medium spenders keep making this mistake of just itching to use that commander already, but you're not going to be able to use them at level 10. So you're just going to screw it. Guys, that first skill is pretty much the difference between that guy being useful within the next couple of weeks than him not being useful at all. Period.
Let me just jump in for a second. Look at the top obelisk. There's a rally going to the obelisk, and they rallied the rally. Because they had enough time to do that. Yeah, baby.
No way. That's crazy. By the way, the bottom obelisk was taken by Abe on a solo thing, and now Abe is just burning cities as they're trying to get that bottom obelisk back. This is hilarious. This is the first one.
There's still stuff happening.
This is the first one. Rallying a rally.
This is a first. Rallying a rally in Ark of Osiris. This is a first, I think.
That's awesome.
And they started it early enough. Okay, now that's a tactic. That's a tactic. Do a 1-minute rally on a rally that's coming toward you. And that means your rally is going to get skill attacks on their rally while it marches. That's savage.
Ooh.
You'd have to break the rally. That's your, like, anti-rally.
Rallying a rally might be a play. Rallying a rally really might be a play. It might be worth it for someone to be a designated individual in your alliance to keep an eye on their incoming rallies. One of the toughest things in the Ark of Osiris is figuring out really what's going on the battlefield. There's so many flashing red lights, flashing blue lights, flashing everything that it's really tough to keep up with these things. Maybe it's worth it to have one person whose job it is to just make sure rallies are not being set. And if they are, to direct the rally leaders on your end to set a rally against that rally the moment it starts marching. Those rallies are going to take a good few minutes to march. There's absolutely no way you cannot organize a proper 1-minute rally if you do it right.
I'll point out this one player here is burning a City Hall 25 city. I know they're probably just trying to get some points toward the end of this battle, but they could have just marched up and to the left a little bit and attacked a city with half as much power. That probably would have been my play. Right? Like, just, you don't even have to try that hard. Just look at the City Hall.
He has another march on that. Yeah. He has a secondary march on that city. I think he's just at this point trying to have some fun.
Yeah, just get some points.
Not really overthinking it too much. These guys are well ahead of the blue team. 11 minutes left on the clock. They even took an arc.
Maxing your points, you gotta hit the right thing. Anyways,
I don't know. Let's look at the solo points. We haven't done that yet. Abe, oh my goodness, look at the solo points. Do me a favor.
That's a lot of solo points.
98,000 points. Z
points.
with 59,000 points. Cupid with 13,000. We literally talked about how these three guys are the leadership. And they are setting an example. They are pushing hard. They are ensuring. Even Cupid, who she is not like Abe and Z yet. She is still at the beginner's camp. She's 14 million power in here. And yet she is the third strongest in terms of solo points. This is leadership, guys. Leading by example. Hopefully these guys can catch up and get those 10,000 points a pop, because it's getting late. As Stephanie is at 2,200 points. Penguins is on 39. Tug is on 4K. Come on, guys. You guys got to pass at least that 6K mark. You want those legendary sculptures.
So I'll chime in and say that individual points is not necessarily leadership, but it is good performance, and good performance is an awesome thing to have some sweet players in your alliance. You know what I mean?
I don't know. If you asked me between Abby and Cupid, both of them being at number 3 with a substantial, they are both very big, strong players. Both of them leading the charge in the solo points. It tells the story. It just straight up tells the story. Yes, Abe and Z are tier 5 players, and therefore we're not even talking about them because they are going to have massive solo points. But I think that once your leader is someone who has a substantial amount of points and is showing his and her ability to understand the game and maximize their own efficiency within it, it's a role model for the rest of the team to look up for. And I think that's super important.
It's a good showing of individual skill. I would agree.
Completely. Yeah. And the red team is just cleaning house on the top obelisk because it's about to lock in for them, and they're going to be able to port forward. How much you want to bet in 2 seconds Z is about to port straight in? Although I think
yeah, I'd hope he does.
Oh, someone already ported.
He's got an army on the field, though.
Yes, he has.
He's entered into the mode of hitting player cities, which, he's rocking, I think, more than a 50%. He's rocking the 50% army expansion, I think, because he's got a lot of troops in this army.
Yes, he is.
Depends on
it looks like it.
Is, so,
and look at that. We talked about Abby, and Abby was the second guy porting forward. Penguins at the front of the line, too. Come on, buddy. This is the time to get those solo points. Oh, my goodness. Well, this was an anticlimactic, none worth it to wake up at 5 a.m. kind of event.
I don't know what you're talking about. We saw a new tactic. A rally was rallied. I learned some...
That's really cool, though. Although I'm seeing my friend Vixen at the front obelisk getting sent back as she was burned. Cash also about to get sent back as he is burning. So there is... See... I want to say something here for both of our chats. For the love of God, guys, please, 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 please. In our Ark of Osiris, 20 minutes before it was over, the other team stopped pushing out of their safe zone and tried baiting us in one by one into their safe zone and taking us out one by one. I can understand your lack of willingness to lose troops, but if you're ending this event at a 53,000 to 18,000 score and you still have troops alive, you are not playing the game right. You are not playing the game right.
This player, Epsilon Ebony, was leading rallies very well, I think, the whole time. Like, they were constantly leading.
Exactly.
It must have been 1-minute rallies. I thought their play was really, really good.
I completely agree, and that's my point here, too. Look at all these marches. There's a rally coming out by Amazing Puck towards the obelisk. These guys are not sleeping. They're sending all their troops out. Guys, reminder, you don't have to use your speed ups. You do not have to. You can let all your troops go into the hospital, into the Ark of Osiris hospital, and just wait for the timer to end. And guess what? All your troops are back. Don't leave the game. Don't leave the event with troops alive if you're getting rolled over. Push out. Try to get solo points. Try to have some fun. But don't hide.
This is pretty savage.
It is.
This is pretty savage up top here. I'm gonna cruise through the questions as this thing winds down. There's some interesting ones here. Should I use Max Ulji with 5-3-1-1 Richard for infantry, or 5-1-1-1 Charles with Richard. I think, based on the conversation we were just having earlier, that like 5-3-1-1 is more the sweet spot for using Charles instead of Ulji. I would stick to the expertise Ulji with the 5-3-1-1 Richard, especially since I'm going to assume you can level up that Ulji a whole heck of a lot more. And yes, I agree with the comment that like eventually Martel seems like a good idea. I've spread my legendary sculptures in Richard to 5-3-1-1 and Cao Cao 5-1-3-1. Wow, that's really optimal for having that many points on Cao Cao. That's basically perfect. Because like the last skill's not that good on Cao Cao. It's great, but like you really want everything in the third skill. That's worked out. Those are both usable commanders. Even together, those are actually usable commanders. Did you know that? One of my alliance members swears by Cao Cao with Richard. Really enjoys it.
Again, what type of troop composition is he sending with them? It's all about the troop.
Skills are not that high on Richard. As an example, like the fact that he gives like a tiny amount of stats to infantry, like the other stuff's so good you almost don't care.
I don't see a bad play in there. I honestly think that there's so many combos that we're not even thinking about, and we think they're not logical, and yet on the battlefield they're very relevant. So from Squiggles, I call her, from my chat here, says Tomo. I use Tomo a lot. She's a psycho. I use her for PvP with my archers, and she works wonderfully. Now Squiggles, I gotta point out, is super close to tier 5s, if not on tier 5 level already. So we're not talking about a small player. And I was gonna tell you this earlier and completely forgot. Tomo is a very underrated commander. Very, very underrated commander because she's blue. But she is super strong when it comes to leading archers. If you go and take a look at her skills, she's really, really not that bad. Attack bonus of 30%.
She has the attack tree and the archer tree. I mean, I guess that could work.
Attack bonus 30%, and then archer attack bonus another 5% plus archer march 5%. We're talking rage restore and skill damage bonus. And on top of that, damage reduction to up to 15% for 2 seconds. So that's 2 rounds. She is very viable for archers, my man. She can slow down the damage taken by those guys, restore a little bit of damage plus skill damage. I don't know why she's even blue. I'm not gonna lie to you. No,
she's definitely blue. Maybe in the early game. So,
I don't know, man.
So here's a couple problems with Tomo. Tomo's weird. I agree with you. Attack bonus of 30% is good, but she has to be the primary commander for that to be a good skill. So the second hit is a really big skill attack from the second commander. But the problem is that her next skill makes it so that she, let's see, increase the attack of archer and march speeder. That's fine. It's the one after it. Gains an additional 3 rage when attacking the enemy. That's good. Increases skill damage by 2% when Tomo is serving as a secondary commander. So she increases skill damage by 15%, which is good, but you don't want her as the secondary commander. You want her as the primary commander. Otherwise, she's just increasing the damage of normal attacks. See what I mean?
Okay. I see what you're saying. And you know what's funny, by the way, looking at the arc back really briefly, these guys on the blue team picked up the Arc of Osiris, but guess what? They got nowhere to take it.
Dude, I mean, look, they're fighting till the end. They're doing exactly what you said. Don't give up. And
I love it.
These guys are spunky.
I give them major props. I think they played wonderfully. Looking at the scoreline, most people will say they got rolled over, and they did get rolled over in terms of the event itself. But I think that their tenacity to keep pushing and keep playing the game and enjoying it no matter what, getting their solo points out. And you know what? Helping the other team get their solo points too. That is commendable to any team that gets rolled over to still go out and fight in order not for themselves to get solo points, but also for the enemy. Because guys, this is just an event. I'm sure that one day bsG and DJ will meet up again on a regular place, you know, because we're talking about all these different new mechanics coming up to the game. And, you know, they might potentially one day even be allies and friends. So we don't need to take this too seriously. A loss is not the end of the world. Play the game, have fun, guys. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, let's hit a few more of these questions. Since watchtowers are not really applicable for Ark, making Conquering Tree weak, how would you specialize CPO and Hannibal for rally attacks? Leadership tree and then effortless in the attack tree.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. That's the way to go. Who is Mehmed good to pair with? Anyone who does big skill damage, and that you can get even more skill damage going, I think is a mighty fine pairing. He's a flexible commander. Osman Boudica, good combo? Absolutely. Boudica primary. I guess both of them have the skill tree, come to think of it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I like Osman as the primary, because he's got a leadership tree and the skill tree, which is, I think, better than any of the trees Boudica has. I mean, I guess you could get a lot of movement speed from peacekeeping, but come on. Let's see. Is it... okay, that question I can't understand. Hey, it's too late to change as it's already stuck in your subconscious. Okay. Oh, but CPO is pronounced Scipio. Yeah, I'm done for. And Cao Cao is Chow Chow?
Yeah, everyone has their own attempt to let us know how things are said. Honestly,
I don't know how it's
we can
pronounced.
just start at the end. Maybe Ronnie was right. Double C, Scipio is gonna be SC. We're gonna start calling them by one letter, and nobody will tell us we're butchering names.
I'm gonna make a video and get a pronunciation expert on my channel. I'm doing it. It's happening. You heard it here first.
I don't know what kind of pills you took this morning, my friend, but they're not the right ones. Go for the blue,
This
not
evening
the
for
red.
me, morning for you.
I know. I said this morning you've gone through the whole day with them.
I know. We've been hanging out all day. We'll probably be hanging out in less than 8 hours from now, I think, right?
I'm sure hoping so. And we got a victory yet again for the
Let's break it
DJ
down.
fam. Look at the difference.
Oh my god.
Look at the difference right here. And this goes to show what you talked about previously as my network is unstable, connection lost. Well, that blows. There goes my report. These guys were Kingdom 91 versus Kingdom 200.
Yeah, wow. So it's an older alliance. They should have had better tech and a lot of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
But look at the kills. Oh my, so savage.
At this point, my network is unstable.
Let me tell you the kills, because it was bananas. Okay, so 14.8 million kills for Dirty Jokers and 6.1 for Brute Squad Glory. Wow.
Jesus. What's the healing rate, though?
is-
How is the healing looking?
I just closed out of the score screen.
We should
I mean,
have
it's
it
just
in
like-
the mail. Let me try to connect
see.
back. I'm finally observing something that is not network
They
disconnected.
healed 5.4. I'm surprised they healed units at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they didn't need to. Right? Like, save those healing speed ups. That said, individual score of 116,000 for Abe is really
Unbelievable. 5 million total kills. There is 14,868,000 kills, and out of them, 5 million were by Abe alone. This is what I was talking about. This dude, guys.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's.
he's a big boy.
This is the guy who just went across and solo attacked
An obelisk
and
consistently.
they kept swarming him, which is ridiculous and not the right way to handle that over and over, right?
Unbelievable. I think that we can say congratulations in order not only to Dirty Jokers, but also bsG for a very, very well played match. They got outperformed not only by necessarily by players, but just by sheer power. Tier 5s, 2 tier 5s against none is really, really tough. So GGs in the chats are required, both for bsG and DJ, as my guys are GGing in the chat, and yours hopefully are as well. This is all about sportsmanship, guys. This is all about having fun. It's not about necessarily looking down at others. bsG did wonderful. They did what they could, and they're going to hopefully look at our VOD, see, okay, well, this is completely useless for us because we got just steamrolled and couldn't get anything done. But hopefully they'll manage to see a couple of things that the guys from DJ did correctly and implement them in their next Ark of Osiris as we invite them to reach out to us to cast them in the future. Guys, if anyone from bsG is anywhere nearby in these chats, come join us. We'll be glad to want to see you progress and cast you in the future a proper victory.
Yeah, I thought they did well. I thought they played well. They were just outgunned, which is pretty tough.
I will go ahead and take my rewards, as this is an alliance that I play with a little bit. This is a small account that I have available that I collect
I was
get
gonna
into.
say, you were sitting on like 595,000 1,000 power. That's like, you didn't make this account last night.
No.
Or even in the last hour, which is what I did.
No, as I mentioned to you guys, the guys from DJ, especially Abe, is someone who I've known for a long time. He's been a good friend from the Lords Mobile period, and when I heard these guys are playing, actually Abby, one of their R4s, really convinced me to just make an account and come play with us. And this account is, you know, it's slowly growing. These guys are being kind enough to still let me stick around, and I gotta say, it's very refreshing to see full alliances coming out from Lords Mobile into Rise of Kingdoms, adopting some new players they met along the way from Rise of Kingdoms, and really implementing the system that the Dirty Jokers family have implemented through Lords Mobile. Just to give you a little bit of context, Chisgule, DJ is the lead alliance, and in Lords Mobile, there is D, any letter. So DA, DB, DC, DD, DE, DF, DG, full alliances from A to Z, capital letter, lower letter. They probably have over 1,000 players across all their all the kingdoms and all the alliances and all that, and they're managed by the same set of leaders, Abe being one of them. So whew,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Hopefully we'll see them coming into Rise of Kingdoms, taking over the game as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'll be cool to see them here. I like when organized groups sort of play together and stick with it. I, wish I had had a group that I was playing with previously that was like, oh yeah, there's this game and we're all gonna play it, right? Like, that would have been pretty sweet. Actually, I was playing a game with a really amazing group of people previously. Guardians Alpha, shout out to them, and Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. I enjoyed playing with them so much. I was actually an officer in the alliance they had there that I drop in every now and then and say hello in their general chat, see how everybody's doing.
Yeah, I think that this is a very important point for everyone in both chats and both streams who are really only looking at Rise of Kingdoms and asking specific questions. Remember that it's all about the people you meet, and if you meet good friends and people you enjoy playing with, migrating games with them is also a possibility. When I started playing Rise of Kingdoms, I brought in with me a few people that were Lords Mobile's players, and while a couple of them didn't last, they didn't enjoy as the game was growing a little slower than they expected. Some of them are still playing to this day, and some are my great friends. So remember that, you can make a lot of good friends and enjoy multiple games as long as you set yourself up. You keep setting yourself up. These guys are in their global chat. Vixen calling me out in a very rude way, even though I kept giving her props all the time. So
you can give her enough credit.
Damn, she's a feisty one. It's okay. I'll handle her later.
All right.
Never to be seen again.
I've got a chat full of questions I need to sort out. You're welcome to stay and jam for that if you'd like. I don't want to hold you hostage, though.
My friend, I am going to sign off. It is 6:07 a.m. I got to wake up for work in 2 hours.
Good luck, my friend.
I'm going to go ahead and try to get a little bit of a sleep. Chat, thank you for being here. Thank you all for joining us on a dual cast. Chisgule, my friend, always a pleasure. As soon as I wake up, we'll talk again about our next arc coming up. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff in the description. You guys know what to do. I'm not going to keep yapping for too long. I'm way too tired for this stuff. I'll see you guys sooner rather than later. Next stream coming up is going to be a big one.
Yeah, wait, we got to hype our next one. Hold on.
Are we going to hype it? Are we going to hype it?
We need to hype it. Yeah, it's going to be nuts, isn't it? Is it JMW? Am I remembering correctly?
JWM versus UCS, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, this was a pre-planned thing among 3 alliances. These two and S equals C all are huge alliances, and what ended up happening is UCS versus JWM, 1.195 billion power versus 1.245 billion power on the battlefield. 30 versus 30, 11 tier 5s for JWM against the 8 tier 5s for UCS.
Yeah,
just to think about it. Just to think about it.
It's going to be sweet. This is what?
Going
9
crazy.
hours from now, right?
This should be about 9 hours. Is it? Yeah, it is 9 hours from now.
Yeah. There's the hype.
If
There's
you
the
guys
hype,
are
9 hours
not,
from now.
if you guys are not subscribed to either myself or Chisgule, you guys are gonna want to hit that subscribe button so you get a notification whenever we go live. That thing is gonna be fire. That thing is gonna be fire. And of course, smash the like button on both streams. You know what I'm talking about? You guys know the drill. Anyway, Chisgule, my friend, you keep hyping up things. I'll stay with you for a little bit longer, but I will sign off on my stream because, yeah, I'm almost out of it. Guys,
Yeah,
I'll see you guys sooner rather than later. Peace. Now, don't steal my